Welcome to Plus One Forward, the podcast powered by the Apocalypse, where we talk about tabletop role-playing games using or inspired by the Apocalypse engine. I'm your MC Rich, and I'm joined by my guest, Brendan Conway of Magpie Games. Hey Brendan, welcome to the show.
Hey Rich, thanks for having me.
Well, I had to have you on now that you've got a certain thing out that we'll talk about shortly.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, you better know, because soon you will unveil the thing that's on the show title that everyone already knows. Okay, how long... I gotta roll it in. Credibility time. How long have you been playing PBTA games, and what was your gateway?
I'm the real thing. I come from the OG... I think I used that right. OG, is that right?
Yes, I think so.
I played, Original Apocalypse World in 2010. I went back and checked my email to make sure. And I had a long-running Skype game of Apocalypse World for a few years. And that's really what broke me into it.
Nice. Okay, did you run or did you play your first game?
I played and it was wonderful. I got to play October the Skinner, a teenage girl who we got to take her through such monumental things as her killing the Hardholder and running away from the Hardhold after that trauma, coming back and taking over the Hardhold to some extent. It was great. And eventually I got to add in Gremlin, the driver, who is gotta be my favorite asshole of all time. He was just an awful person, just a little shit, and it was just the best thing.
Gremlin, the driver, that's a great one. That's great. That's awesome. Sweet. Well, you want to jump in and read a sitch?
Absolutely.
Read a sitch. Brendan, I understand you want to talk a little bit about spotlight juggling. So, spotlight is like light. How do you juggle light? Because it's I don't understand how that has weight or mass. So I'm a little confused.
Well, it's both sort of a wave and a particle.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can just use the magic words that we get from Harry Potter of Wingardium...
Oh, okay.
So, spotlight juggling. What I want to talk about is this idea that you as the GM are the director, and you can shine a spotlight on particular things, and most often we think of this as shining a spotlight on particular PCs. And what I've been finding lately in particular, especially as I've been running an Urban Shadows campaign, but also I found it all the time in Masks and all the time before that, is that there is this quandary around where to shine the spotlight as a GM, because your players, your PCs, I should say, are really interesting and fun to watch, and they're interconnected with each other, yeah, but if they're also all developed and full characters, they all have their own directions.
Right.
This one winds up wanting to go talk to his mom, and this one winds up wanting to go and attack the other Hardhold, and it's not because the game isn't working right. In fact, the game is working perfectly, but because these characters aren't exactly this coherent unit, they split up, and then you have to say, do I really have a scene with just this character and his mom, which means me, the GM, talking, while everybody else is sitting here silently? Is that really what I do? That feels weird.
Well, yeah, but you're always playing, so that's okay, right?
That's true, yeah. I actually have had a problem for exactly that reason, because I will be super engaged across the board as I play these characters. I'm super into it, and I'm like, this scene is great! And then eventually I turn back to the other player, and they're like, what? I totally tuned out. Oh. Whoops.
Nice. Okay, I hear the problem as you've laid it out. What are some ways that you've tried to solve for that, Brendan?
One of the strangely easiest and yet less intuitive ones that I've been using with the people I'm running the Urban Shadows game with is basically asking for their help and being very explicit about the next scene is going to be, I think we're going to turn our spotlight here, and I want to pay attention to here, but if you can think of a way or some way that you might show up in this scene, please let me know, and constantly reminding them that, look, I'm interested in trying to get all of you together in as many scenes as possible. So in some ways, asking for their participation means they are more aware of this as well. I think that great players can get in that mindset of, I want to play my character, and I want to play my character to the hilt, and my character's going to do this thing. And so helping them to have that little additional note of, maybe I can also aim at a scene which brings in this other character. It means everybody at the table is trying to solve this issue instead of just me. It's super helpful.
Now, another question that I have about this juggling is, what's the cut point? What's the point when you go, okay, we're going to stick a pin in this? Do you go all the way through the scene? Or is there a point where you are like, okay, we're going to commercial and we're going to come back with this?
That's a great question, and it's still something that I'm trying to get just right, because it's never a constant rule where it will always be correct for all situations. The best explanation I heard was actually from another Rich, a friend, when I ran Dungeon World for a whole group, and I was doing some weird things. I was essentially trying to tackle the problem of initiative by letting each person do one thing and then going to the next person. And what he suggested to me afterwards was, no, that's not really how it should work. The spotlight should shift the way it does in a movie, where we stick with someone until we sort of hit that one moment where we can shift away. And it could be a cliffhanger moment, or it could be a moment where it seems partially resolved, and then we pop on over to someone else. And that's the core principle that I try to use. The moment it feels like the scene is either at that perfect cliffhanger or at a moment of some resolution, even if it's not perfectly resolved, some level of resolution, then we can pop on over to someone else, leave that scene where it is, and we can always come back to it.
True. I've actually found, and surprisingly enough, this came from play group, my intercontinental group of awesome, that a great cut point was right after a die roll, especially if it's a pick from a list move, because there's always that pregnant moment of the player going, okay, I got to get this, but I can't get this. And that's a great moment to cut because it lets them go, okay, great. I can take a moment and really consider this and come back strong with something. So cutting away at that moment has been really helpful for me. That's one of the things I learned from others, like the people at the table, like, hey, Rich, could you go to someone else? Like, oh yeah, that's really smart, because I was super interested by your like, I want to see what your answer is, but we can cut and go to another person.
And that's exactly part of why this is such an issue, is I'm right there with you. We are super invested, and we really want to know what the next thing you're doing is. We as GMs, we as the people running the game, this whole mindset Apocalypse World games put us into of be a fan of the PCs means I really want to know. And that's why I don't want to leave your character. And that's why I don't want to pop over someone else. Because I'm an audience member, and I'm so into this scene. And that means I'm potentially blind to some of these issues.
Now, let me ask you another question about spotlight juggling, and this came from a suggestion in a post game that actually wasn't in Powered by the Apocalypse, because seriously, I play those. Yeah, I got to keep my my card. Like, they'll kick me out of the Polygamerist Society. The thing that was suggested was, hey, if we're going to go off into these breakout scenes, Jim's been sitting here for a while. What if he slides in and just kind of voices a minor character? Is that something that you've thought about doing, or is that anything that you've tried before?
I've used that kind of technique in some games, but I would usually steer clear of that just intuitively for myself in Apocalypse World style games, because those NPCs are most often my tools with which to make moves or push things in particular ways. And the more I sort of loan them out, first of all, the more I break up your connection to your particular PC. The more I say, you are not just this PC, you're also this guy, you're also that guy. But also the more I hinder my own ability to just immediately jump in and say, this guy does this thing, and you can't possibly come against me, you can't possibly argue with it, because that's my role. I get to say what this NPC does. So partially because I'm a protective and possessive jerk, I generally try to hold on to those NPCs as best as I can.
Sure.
Now, that doesn't mean I won't try to involve people and say, oh, this guy, right now you are in a scene with essentially Batman, but you're Superboy. And so Superboy is talking to Batman, so I'm going to turn to Robin, and I'm going to ask Robin questions about Batman and who Batman is and how he would act.
Nice.
And that gets Robin's player involved without bringing Robin into the scene.
That's really clever. I love it. Awesome. Okay. Anything else about spotlight juggling that you wanted to talk about, Brandon?
No, I'm good.
Cool. You want to jump on over and open our brains to this? Well, if it were Zatanna, it would be Sam, but I guess we'll just call it Masks.
That was pretty great. That was pretty awesome.
Thank you. I've been thinking about it for a little bit.
Sam.
Open your brain. So hey Brendan, I have you on because you've got this Masks: A New Generation PBTA game. It's in the episode title like I mentioned before, so I might as well get you to talk about it.
I guess.
What's the setting? What's this about?
The general idea of Masks is you take on the role of young superheroes, and you are coming up in Halcyon City. Halcyon is this wonderful city. It's the best city in the world. It's Metropolis. It's Marvel's New York. It's where all of the super heroic shenanigans go down. And all of the big teams live there, and Aegis, this governmental agency that polices superpowers, has their headquarters there, and it's a great city. It's a great place to live. Dangerous for sure, but amazing. And there you are, this teenager, approximately 16 to 20 or so, growing up in this place with your own powers or your own will and drive to be one of those superheroes, and trying to figure out who you are and who you want to become. The game is absolutely about this trek you take as you grow up, as you develop your sense of self, in the face of an entire city full of other figures telling you who to be. Because you're gonna hear from the August, who's gonna come down and say, that wasn't quite good enough, kid. And you're gonna hear from the supervillain who says, you don't have what it takes. And you're gonna hear from your mom, who's gonna say, oh, why can't you just stay home? Why can't you just be a normal kid? And all these voices are gonna be coming at you, changing and reshaping you. And all the while, you're gonna be deciding, do I listen to them? Or do I try to be something different?
It sounds like to emulate that, you would really need to think about how PBTA works. So what are the mechanics in this game that are different from, say, Apocalypse World?
Probably the biggest one I've basically alluded to is the shifting labels. Mm-hmm. In Masks, our stats are called labels.
Right.
And they all represent how you see yourself. The higher the label, the more you see yourself as that thing. The lower the label, the less you see yourself as that thing. As your self-image changes, so too do your labels. The numbers themselves will change. So over the course of the game, you might start off and have a danger +3. You see yourself as this intimidating, frightening figure, and you are a genuine threat. And then over the course of the game, other people tell you that you're a regular person, that they understand you and they think that you're just a normal person underneath it all, and you start to accept that. And so your danger shifts down, and your mundane shifts up as you become someone who sees themselves as a regular person, able to relate to and empathize with regular people, and maybe not a threat anymore, not actually capable of frightening or intimidating anyone.
Other than labels, and that swaps out your stats, which is kind of weird because people always think, let's keep increasing that one stat we use all the time. But everyone can move that label, right? You as an MC, although you call it a GM in this game. I don't know why you don't like Master of Ceremonies, Brendan. I mean,
really,
I don't get it.
I'm a troll. That's what it is.
You're trolling? Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. Well, anyway, the GM has the ability to shift those labels, but other players have the ability to shift those labels. They're constantly moving. That's really interesting. In play, how often, for you, when does it feel good? Like, how many times within a session should somebody get their label shifted, do you think?
Sure. It's always a hard thing to say for as a hard number because it'll change very much over the course of the game, but I like to think about 2 to 3 times per character if possible.
Mm-hmm.
At least once per character, for sure. Part of what limits this is the idea of influence, where you give influence to other characters, and that means their words matter to you. So the only people who can shift your labels are ones who have influence over you. Now, by default, all of the adults, aka the NPCs, have influence over you. And that means as the GM, as you said, I have tons and tons of tools to throw at you and to try and shift your influence. I can easily just arrange that even with a reporter coming up and asking probing questions. For the PCs between each other, they can only shift each other's labels if they have influence over each other. And in that case, I'm totally leaving them to do their own thing. If they don't want to shift each other's labels, that's fine. I'm sure eventually it's going to happen. I guarantee eventually one of them's going to say something that's going to shift someone else's labels, whether they mean to or not. But I'm not going to push on that. My job as GM is just to focus on those adults, those external figures, and to bring them in and nudge you around.
Cool. Okay. Now, what else is different within the mechanics from Masks versus Apocalypse World?
So we have conditions instead of a harm track. Basically, conditions each represent a negative emotional state, something like afraid or angry, guilty, insecure, hopeless, that while you have that condition, it gives you a -2 to particular basic moves. So, for instance, afraid would give you a -2 to directly engage a threat, to punch things in the face. You can get rid of conditions a few different ways. There are some moves that help you do it, but also each condition has this one action you can take that if you take it, you can clear the condition by the end of the scene. So afraid, for instance, again, has run away from something difficult or dangerous. So if you're afraid, it means your character is afraid. Whether you express that or not is sort of down to your particular interpretation, but it's going to affect your rolls. And chances are, as a player, you're going to say, I don't want to do that thing because I'm getting a -2. Except maybe I'll start doing it again if I just run away right now, because then I'll get to clear my condition and I'll be free of it. The conditions are there because physical harm in these superhero stories doesn't make a huge amount of sense. How do you track how much more hurt Superman is versus Hawkeye versus Wolverine versus the Hulk? They're all on so many different scales. If we want to have all those characters in our game, it's really tough to have a physical harm track that makes any amount of sense. But they all have feelings, whether they want to or not, and we can track how they feel and make that what matters the most.
Cool. Now, conditions, that's a terminology that maybe somebody coming from Monster Hearts who thinks, oh, Monster Hearts is like Masks, except you got a costume. A little different. Conditions are really open-ended in Monster Hearts, but there are only 5 conditions, right?
Yep, exactly.
So there were 5 conditions, and they all have moves that are impacted, and they all have escape clauses that are terrible but awesome.
Yep, that was my design goal, by the way. I wrote that down. Terrible but awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I've read some of your stuff. I think that's generally that's one of your agendas, right?
It very much is. It's on my birth certificate.
But there's more, right? There's even more mechanics that are different in Masks than Apocalypse World. What else did you pull out of your bag of tricks here, Brendan?
I included the mechanic of team. Team is how you help each other, and this is really here to reflect that whole superhero team thing, where I can easily help you out. It's not actually too complicated. It doesn't require me to risk a great deal. In Apocalypse World and in a lot of other games with helping mechanics, the way you help is you actually have to make a move. And if you get a 10+, everything's fine and dandy. But if you get a 7 and 9, there's some cost. And if you get a miss, you're in trouble. So helping is often just a little bit dangerous in those games, and that turns you off from helping. But in Masks, you have this pool of points called team that you spend to help each other. It's a 1-for-1 thing. I can spend 1 team out of the pool to give you a +1 on your roll. Everybody on the team can spend 1 team out of the pool per move to give a +1. So if we're in a team of 5 people and you roll and you wind up getting a 3, the other 4 of us can each spend 1 team out of the pool and boost that 3 all the way up to a 7. To do that, though, we got to be able to do it in the fiction. There has to be some actual way we can help you. If one of our numbers on the other side of the city, we're out of luck. And we need to have the points in the pool. So those points really represent how tight our team is and how prepared we are, how ready for this fight and this conflict we are. And they fluctuate throughout the game as we spend them and the pool gets refilled. There are a whole bunch of moves that will add team to the pool, and the biggest one is when we enter a dangerous battle as a team, a whole bunch gets flushed in all at once.
Right. Okay, cool. Yeah, team is really interesting. Anything else that somebody coming from Apocalypse World straight into Masks might find a little different or, confusing?
This one's a little not as directly defined in the mechanics, or it's a little bit more ethereal, I guess. But it's worth keeping in mind that in Masks, a number of the basic moves are more catered to intent than explicit action. What I mean by that is, in Masks, there's this move, Unleash Your Powers. And Unleash Your Powers, as a trigger, when you unleash your powers, sounds like it could apply to all kinds of situations. When the Hulk is punching the thing in the face, and he's just doing it with all his strength, it sounds kind of like he's unleashing his powers, his super strength.
Right, exactly.
But the intent matters as well. And so what the Hulk is actually doing is he's directly engaging a threat. He intends to punch the Hulk, not just to knock the Hulk out of the way, but to hurt him, to get him out of the fight and down for the count. As a result, the move that's right for that situation is actually directly engage a threat. That's what the Hulk is doing. Even though you can sort of look at that action and see how it can fit in multiple of the moves, the intent is what tells you what's going on.
That's good to clarify. I gotta be honest. I've stumbled along that. I've run Masks a little bit myself, and I've stumbled on that, especially with someone who didn't have superpowers. Like, at what point are they unleashing their powers? It seemed like they were fighting all the time, and that intent is where we had to draw the lines.
Yep.
That's really good to highlight. Among all of these things that you have listed, I need to know, what is your favorite move and why?
So I have to go with comfort and support from the basic moves, because it was sort of my thesis statement for the game in some ways. I wanted a game that had this truly positive move about trying to help somebody else out. So you would get those moments that you see in the superhero team stories where the one teammate lends confidence, lends kindness, lends words of support to the other. And that's all it needs. That's all they need to get back into the fight and to take down the bad guy. I love those moments, and I wanted the game to have them codified. So comfort or support, I'm really proud of, because it has this whole notion of, I'm trying to help you out, and by doing so, I can help get past conditions. I can help you shift your labels to exactly what you want them to be. I can help you mark experience. All you have to do is open up to me. That's the part I love, because it's so open-ended what that could mean. It could mean something as simple as a thin smile, if we're talking about someone gruff and most of the time cold. Like Wolverine, you could imagine he's opening up if he smiles or if he says anything nice to you. But then you've also got, imagine what Captain America opening up looks like. And imagine what Superman opening up looks like. Imagine what Batman opening up looks like. And all of these moments are just fantastic moments of emotional vulnerability or connection. They're the perfect dramatic moments. Every time I've seen comfort or support be rolled and somebody responds and chooses to open up, it's just wonderful. And it's that moment I want that panel of. That is the killer panel of the comic. Maybe not because it's depicting the most glorious action sequence, but because that's where the heart of the comic is.
Yeah, I agree. That's really, really cool. Okay, you got me all hyped up here, Brendan. I really want to go act under fire and get this to the table. Are you ready to run some Masks?
I am ready.
Okay, let's do this thing. Hey there, forward-looking people. Before we go into Act Under Fire, I just want to take a moment and let you know that Plus One Forward is part of the Gauntlet community, and the Gauntlet community has a Patreon or a Patreon, whatever you want to call it, where you pay a small monthly amount, and that helps us keep the lights on. Now, there are some exciting things for you PBTA fiends, you. At the $4 level, you get access to the Codex. That's our monthly zine, which almost invariably, like so far, every single one of them have had some PBTA goodies. So you want some new game supplements for lots of the things you've heard on Plus One Forward, this is the way to go at only $4 a month. Now, we play PBTA games like crazy. Like, I am almost always running PBTA, and if you wanted to have priority to seat into those games, all you have to do is contribute $7 a month. Now, the last thing that I really want to let you know about is, do you really love Plus One Forward? Do you want to sponsor Plus One Forward and have me talk about you every episode? There is a sponsor level, and Discern Realities has a sponsor, and Gauntlet Prime has a sponsor, and Plus One Forward does not have a sponsor, which makes me just a little... I'm competitive. I'm a little sad. You make the best decision for you. If you want to back us via Patreon, that's fantastic. If you don't, that's quite alright. I'll still be here. Thanks for listening, and let's go act under fire. It is time to act under fire. Alright, now Brendan, I have twisted his arm, and he is going to run Masks: A New Generation for moi. Now, would like to play a character by the name of Plus One, and I think that could work. If all the games that I've played with Plussy, I think just Plus One works for me here, if you're cool with that.
Oh, I think that's cool.
And is it cool of the playbooks? Legacy playbook seems cool?
Absolutely. And for anybody who doesn't know, the Legacy playbook is a character who comes from a long tradition of superheroes. This is sort of the later Robins, where there's a whole bunch of Batman and Robin and Batgirl and Nightwing all around you. Or the Flash, there are a whole bunch of Flashes behind you. You come from a tradition, and you're dealing with essentially family looking at you and expecting a lot from you.
I'm thinking of Plus One. His legacy is that, his dad is plus 2 and his grandfather is plus 3. What do you think? Is that crazy?
I love it. So does that mean that your grandfather was the original plus 1, and then when your dad took on the role, your grandfather became plus 2, and then when you took on the role, your dad became plus 2 and your grandfather became plus 3? It just shifts down?
You and your shifting of numbers. No. I mean, I love that idea, but I'm thinking that plus 3 was plus 3. He just knew that was the name he needed to take, and we're headed towards some cataclysmic something after plus 1 goes. I don't know if there's a plus 0.
Oh, dear.
I don't know.
So the expectation's got to be pretty heavy on plus 1.
No pressure.
When they're like, well, you're the last one way or another, so don't mess up.
Indeed. I need to make some choices here. I'm going with my instincts here. I'm going with the one that's your Superman-y version, the super strength, invincibility, eye beams. That's hilarious, by the way, to call it eye beams. Flight and super senses. And I think that plus 1 does not have super senses, and he doesn't have eye beams. So he has to get all up and tight if he wants to affect things.
You got it. So I have this love letter down here that's ready.
What? I love love letters.
Do you want me to give it a read, or should you?
Oh, that's a great question. I really like your narrator voice, Brendan. Do you want to read the love letter?
I could do the old-timey narrator voice, the old-timey radio.
You should do it. You did that for the Kickstarter. You should do it now. Do it now.
All right, let's see what I can do here. Hey, plus 1! Things have been pretty good so far since you've become a superhero. You beat that one jerk, Nano, and sent him to the Spike to be incarcerated. You earned some praise from the Silver Savior, which is pretty sweet. Your team, name pending, has had a few victories, and Aegis has finally stopped trying to arrest you all the time. But then, -1 showed up, and things have been going downhill since. -1, your dark inverse, a version of you from another dimension with the exact opposite of your powers. You're not sure why she's here, though. If you had to guess, it seems mostly just to mess with you. And now she went ahead and abducted your best friend and teammate, Sam Singer, a.k.a. Whipcrack. She left you a message at Sam's home, calling you out. She told you to come to the top of Champion Tower, or else she's going to throw Whipcrack into the interdimensional space between worlds. You aren't going to let that happen, are you?
Oh, I love that you fridged my friend Sam. Okay. That's awesome. So, what do we do here? Gotta roll?
Yes, so plus 1, you're gonna roll plus Savior. On a 10+, you've got the edge on -1. She doesn't see you coming, and you can make the first move. On a 7 to 9, she sees you at the same time you see her. Neither one of you has a leg up on the other. On a miss, when you show up, you're already flustered. Mark a condition, afraid, angry, guilty, hopeless, or insecure, and hold on for dear life. Good luck, buddy.
It's great. It's great. Okay, with the stat blocks that I have here, it turns out my savior is a +1. Here we go. Oh my goodness. I've rolled a 4 with a +1. That is a 5. I have to mark a condition. Oh, darn it. I think that I am afraid. I'm afraid that my friend and buddy, Sam Singer, aka Whipcrack, is going to die. That I can't get there fast enough.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me. Just to check in my head, Sam Singer was a beacon, which probably means he's this excited kid who doesn't actually have superpowers and really may not have a place out here. Does that sound right?
Darn it, Sam. You've got so much heart. You should probably finish up school.
Yeah, Sam really doesn't have any of the things that you have or that those like you have. He's just got 2 whips.
So we're up on a top of Champion Tower, is that right?
The opening panel of the comic is the moon in the sky over Halcyon City shining down, the dark clouds periodically passing over it. And we sort of zoom in towards the tallest tower in the middle of the city, as then we see this one dot moving closer to the top, and we zoom in further, and we see that dot is +1. +1, what's your costume look like?
+1's costume is this bright, like, royal blue cape that furls behind him, and right now he's got one arm that's kind of held in tight to his chest, his left arm, and his right arm is, the fist is pointed straight up and he's flying straight up, and then he's got kind of a traditional strongman costume like Superman would have, except he doesn't have the underoos, right? He's not going to do that. That's not stylish anymore, so.
We move past them. That's excellent. So the full hero pose up to the top of the building, and we see you crest the ledge and come to stand on top. And the comic panel just shows your feet landing and then sort of pans up in the next panel to show further along the rooftop, standing on the helipad, -1 in her bright red costume, just grinning madly at you. Next to her, torn in the air, is a glimmering portal of green swirling energy. And on the other side, in one hand, she holds the squirming form of Sam Singer, lifting him off the ground and holding him by his neck.
Neg, you did not need to bring that kid into this. If you wanted to fight me, that's all you had to do. Now let him go. I'm here. Let's do this.
Dear +1. I don't think you fully understand what's going on here. You see, it was never about simply fighting you. It was about making you what you needed to be. And I think that you need to come to understand that. If you want your friend back, then you're going to have to come at me hard. You're going to have to fight me with everything you have, and you're going to have to let go of this stupid, simple, weak show you put on for everyone in this city. Show me what you really are. Show me that anger. Show me that hate. So she's trying to call you a danger there, buddy. She's trying to say that you have this internal anger and rage, and you really are a threat.
Oh, man, I'm not going to listen to that. I assume she has some kind of influence over me.
Absolutely she does.
Darn it.
So her words matter. You have to choose whether you want to accept what she's saying, in which case I, the GM, get to shift your labels, or you can reject what she's saying, which is risky, but it could pay off huge.
I'm going to resist. I'm not listening to that, because if she's trying to amp my danger, she's got a plan here. She's revealing too much, so I resist it.
All right. So let's go to the reject their influence move.
Okay.
What you're going to do here is you're going to roll, and you're just going to roll flat. You're not going to add any of your labels or anything else. If you did have influence over her, you would get a +1. But you do not, unfortunately.
What? But it was established in my backstory. Okay, fine, I'll just roll. That is a 9, sir. If only
Very
I had
nice.
that +1.
On a hit, you successfully hold to yourself and tune them out. You get to choose one. Would you like to clear a condition or mark potential? That basically means earn an XP. By immediately acting to prove them wrong. Would you like to shift one label up and one label down, your choice? Or would you like to cancel her influence and take +1 forward against her?
Oh, I will cancel her influence and take +1 forward against her.
Excellent.
Because it's in the name of the show.
Oh, wow. That's too perfect. So tell me what that looks like. What is the comic panel of you rejecting her influence? What do we see as we zoom in on your face?
She's trying to draw out all this anger, and she's trying to motivate +1 to do something rash and dangerous and hurt people. And he doesn't. Like, his face is calm, and he's walking forward. He knows that he has the ability to move quickly if need be, but he's just going to walk straight forward and look at her and say, "Negative. I don't understand what your plan is. I'm not going to play into your hand. I'm here to help my friend, and then you are going to the spike."
Very nice. I mean, are you actually trying to pierce her mask as you were approaching her? It sounds to me like...
I think I am, yeah.
Excellent.
I want to know what her plan is, because she's being very kind of open about, there's something else I'm trying to do to you.
Yes, indeed. You're going to be rolling plus mundane.
It turns out that my mundane is a +1. Dang it! I have rolled a 6. If only I had a team with me. If only Whipcrack were a... Okay, fine.
Actually, for the sake of this example, let's go with it. Now, I will do a quick digression, which would say if you did keep that 6, you would actually earn a potential, aka experience point.
Tempting.
But, for the sake of this example, let's say that Whipcrack is your teammate, right? And he can help you out. At the start of the game, there's always one team in the pool, so even though we haven't added anything else, there would be one team to spend, and let's just say Whipcrack decides to help you out. He's going to try to force her to reveal more about herself, actually by kicking her and distracting her. So whatever facade she has is just going to fall apart as she's annoyed with this ant kicking her.
Nice.
He's just going, "Take that!"
Poor Whipcrack. Great, I get to ask one question. I'm going to ask, what are you really planning? And I'm just going to say, negative. Be straight with me. What are you really planning here? What is all of this?
At that, after she threw this look of pure rage over at Whipcrack, and the kid pales, she turns back to you and that whole haughty facade is cracked. And she looks scared and nervous. And she says, "You don't understand. It's gonna take all of us. Did you never wonder why you're +1 and I'm -1?
Of course I did. But I just thought that you were always supposed to oppose me. Are you saying that we're supposed to do something together?"
Every world has one of us. And we all need to be ready to fight against what's coming. The Ultravore.
I've never heard of this. What is an Ultravore? What is this?
As she says that, out of the portal to her side, these strange, almost crystalline-looking, faceted tentacles whip out, and one of them wraps around her arm. She looks at it with horror on her face. What do you do?
I guess that answers it. I am going to go stop that. I mean, she may be my nemesis, but I'm not going to let some extraplanar being, which, by the way, she was going to throw Whipcrack into. But anyway, I'm not going to let some extraplanar being hurt her. So no, I'm going to engage that thing. I'm going after it.
All right, so is this you flying straight at it to punch it, or how are you going about that?
Oh, it's flying straight at it to punch it.
Excellent. So I'm going to ask you, this is where that intent comes in and matters. Are you primarily focused on keeping her safe, or are you focused on trying to hurt that tentacle that came out of the portal?
That's a great question. I want to keep her safe.
Okay, great.
That's the most important.
Perfect. So what you're doing is defending. Even though it kind of looks like you might be directly engaging a threat, since what actually matters is keeping her safe, defending her, that's the move that you're making. Those are the effects that matter.
Cool. That's a savior roll, and here we go. That dice love me. That is a 6.
Oh, and we spent the team.
Yeah.
So poor Whipcrack can't help.
No, I'll take my potential. Thank you very much.
You do earn 1 potential.
All right. Give me a potential and do your worst, GM Brendan.
All right. You shoot forward straight for the tentacle to break her free of it. And at the last second, right before you can reach it, it just yanks and drags her into the portal. And she screams as she disappears into the green. There's no sign of her left on this side of the portal, and it slowly starts to dwindle. You have some time in which you could throw yourself through, but no idea how to open it again.
Whipcrack's safe? He's not falling off the building?
Whipcrack is picking himself up from where she dropped him in surprise, and he's saying, What's going on? What the heck was she talking about?
Tell my father that the moment we've all been preparing for has arrived. I have to go.
Wait, +1, wait. You can't tell me you're gonna just dive in there. That's crazy, man. Like, you can't be ready for that.
I have to be ready.
He's shifting your labels, unfortunately.
Ooh, nice. What is he doing to me, shifting my labels?
He's saying you're not ready for this. He's saying you're not the hero who can tackle this yet, so he's shifting your savior down and your mundane up.
Can I reject that?
You absolutely can.
I'm going to reject it. Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to let him... He doesn't understand. I'm doing that, so I just roll flat. Here we go.
Do it.
6th.
Oh my goodness. Oh, that is just the most impressive string of 6s I have ever seen.
Okay.
Alright, well, for this example then, on a miss, their words hit you hard. Mark a condition and the GM will adjust your labels. I'm going to suggest that you mark insecure, because I think that makes perfect sense for him calling you out.
Yeah, I think it does. So now I will just take insecure along with my afraid.
Still afraid. Your labels would still shift, so Savior goes down 1 and Mundane goes up 1. And tell me what this looks like as you're trying to hold off, or what you say to him as you're trying to argue with him, and it just completely falls apart.
Craig, Sam, -1 is... She's got a point, and how does she know this and I don't? I have to go. What if it's going to kill her?
All right. Well, then I'm coming with you. Let's go, buddy. And he comes up to stand right next to you in front of the dwindling portal.
You can't. No, you're just a normal guy. You can't. What if the air could be poisoned? It could be. I can't take you. Sam, I need you to stay here to tell my family what's happened.
So it sounds to me like what you're trying to do is provoke Sam into staying.
Yeah, I'm going to try desperately to provoke him. I know this is going to go badly. I can't fight a war on 2 fronts, and saving Sam while also saving negative is not going to work.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to provoke. Here we go. Rolling plus superior, which is plus 0 now.
Good luck.
Oh my goodness. Oh that is 3 potential because I've rolled a 4, sir. All right, so I fail.
Poor +1. You almost have an advance. So there's that. He says, you know what? You're right. There could be anything on the other side of this portal, and there's a good chance it'll kill me. I don't care. Let's go! And he dives through the portal.
I fly in after him. Oh.
And so our comic panel shows the portal close down to a single point of nothingness and then evaporate.
Oh, man. Dang it, +1. That was spectacular.
I felt so bad for poor +1.
It's okay. It stinks that you don't have an advancement of retire to safety. That's what I'm saying, Brendan.
Well, you can become a paragon of the city. So sort of safety, kind of, maybe, not really.
Brendan, thank you so much for coming on Plus One Forward and talking masks, and I've really appreciate having you on.
Absolutely, it was my pleasure, sir. This was great fun.
Plus One Forward is a production of the Gauntlet community and Richard Rogers. You can find us on gauntlet-rpg.com or follow us on Twitter at GauntletRPG. The games mentioned on this show use the Apocalypse engine, which is a creation of Vincent and McGay Baker. The music for Plus One Forward is from the Savage Arl Hotbed CD Gomi Daiko. The songs used are Gomi Daiko Metal version and Process. You can find more amazing tunes by Savage Arl Hotbed on their website, savagearlhotbed.com.